Hey, what's up everyone? I just wanted to make a quick little video going over the two cold variants I have on my Dance of Knives planner. So the Mythic cold variant, the way you play this is exactly like the poison variants. The basics are you use Shadow Clone and then Concealment. When you use Concealment, you enter Stealth, and when you enter Stealth, you're going to reduce your Shadow Clone's cooldown by 6 seconds because of the Sightless set. And you only have to hit Shadow Clone and Concealment at least once every 4 to 6 seconds. This will help keep all of your buffs from the Sightless set active. For Dark Shroud, it gives you 5 stacks. Every time you take damage, you can lose a stack. When you're at 5 stacks, you get 20% damage reduction. As soon as you lose 1 stack though, you lose that damage reduction. So just try to keep Dark Shroud at 5 stacks as often as you can. And then you'll just want to keep Cold Imbuement active at all times. That's where most of your damage is going to be coming from. And then you just channel Dance of Knives. It's a very laid back playstyle, and that's pretty much the rotation. We go with Gladiator's Triumph. So these gloves, the way they work is as soon as you critical strike, you're just going to get 156% damage for your marksman skill, and since we're using Dance of Knives star shards, it turns it into a marksman, so these gloves will work. Same thing as Scoundrel's Kiss. This will increase marksman skill damage, and we're using star shards, so that's how these two work with Dance of Knives. We're also using Death's Pavane, so these work with cold, but these do not work with poison, which is why I don't have them in my poison builds. These are extremely strong for cold. It stacks up to 3 times. There will be little daggers on the ground. As you're channeling around in Dance of Knives, you'll just naturally pick these up, so you don't really have to worry about it. We go with a Mythic Etna's Dagger because you're not going to get an aspect that's 78% damage. The potency on this will only increase your chill effect. It will not increase damage, but it's just a little bonus to help you freeze things a lot faster. If you don't have a Mythic Etna's, you can go with a Legendary Sword. If you go that route, I would suggest picking up Vanquishing Aspect. It'll deal 90% more damage to incapacitated enemies. This just basically means enemies that cannot move. So every time you freeze an enemy, that's considered incapacitated. So this will apply to that, but it will not apply to bosses outside of the stagger phase. If you don't have Gladiator's Triumph or a good pair, you could put these in the charm slot and equip Sea Lord's Fine Gloves. If you don't have any of these, you can use a legendary with high velocity aspect. So we put Ferocious on the two-hander now because ferocity stacks don't seem to be capped anymore. Last season they were capped at 15, so it wasn't worth it to put on your weapon, but now you get the full benefit of all 12 stacks plus the 4 that you get by default, so that will bring it up to 16 stacks. This will multiply the damage modifier by 16, which will give you a huge boost of damage. If you don't have a Mythic Scoundrel's Kiss, the normal one will work as well. I put Mending Obscurity on the amulet. You could put this on the boots if you don't have it on the amulet yet, but you will lose a little bit of movement speed. You can also put Earth Strikers on the boots if you want more damage. For the Paragon, we use the exact same board that we do for our poison variants. The only differences are the glyphs that we use and their placements. So we put Control on Dance Macabres, we put Combat on Exploit Weakness, and we put Devious on Eldritch Bounties. So now for the God DH variant, most of the damage is still going to be coming from Dance of Knives. We are only using Heartseeker to stack our Vengeance buff, but the playstyle is exactly like God DH from Diablo 3. So the way this one works is at the very beginning, you want to hold Heartseeker and get your Vengeance stacks up to 5, which is right here. You'll see it. As soon as that starts to go down, you hit Heartseeker one more time. It's about every 4 seconds. So you basically just channel Dance of Knives, and every 4 seconds or so, you want to hit a Heartseeker, and that'll keep it refreshed. While doing this, you're doing the exact rotation that I explained before in the previous variant. Shadow Clone, and then Concealment, and then we'll throw in Dash every now and then to help Shadow Clone reduce its cooldown. But other than that, it's the exact same. So in this gameplay, I was using a Crown of Lucion. I don't have that in my planner because it's a lot more active to play. You'll have to use Shadow Clone and Concealment way more often because every time we use Concealment, we'll get 40 energy back. So without a ton of resource cost reduction or a Ring of Starless Skies, it's basically the only way to do this. On the planner though, I just have a Legendary Helm because that's way more easier to play with. However, if you do want a little bit more damage, you can go with Crown of Lucion. If you scroll down on the planner, I have more details on how to use it and set up the resource cost reduction for it, but it's really not necessary if you don't want to play with it. And a really good thing about this variant is we only have to change a few things to go from the Mythic variant to the God DH variant. We use a Mythic Seal Diamond Mind. This will allow us to use 2 different sets. We get the Vengeance stacking buff, from the 2-piece narrow eye set. This is the entire reason why we have to use Heartseeker. From the 3-piece set, we get a free Dark Shroud stack every 2 seconds, along with 30% damage reduction. At 5 stacks of the Vengeance buff, we'll get 75% damage and 15% movement speed. But every 4 seconds, the Vengeance buff will lose 1 stack, which is why we have to use Heartseeker at least once every 4 seconds to keep it up. But as for the gear and the build, it's exactly the same as the Mythic variant. The only thing that would change is if you use a Crown of Lucian, you'd want resource cost reduction tempers on both rings and your amulet. Okay, well that's it. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.